And then, even Darnold, on Darnold's front, I know a lot of people are not big Darnold fans, but Darnold, has not thrown a bunch of interceptions. He's yet to throw an interception in camp. That's his bugaboo. Darnold's issue is, can he not turn it over? Trey's issue, can he hit consistently all the short stuff? Brock's issue is, can he throw the ball down the field with enough velocity and enough miles per hour that the defense can't. Is he going to float ducks, or is he going to throw the ball with on a line and get it in those tight windows? So all three of these guys
gets better with time with Brock. That's
right.
Just time, I believe.
Well, we'll see. As long as he's not diminished off the surgery, Coach. That's the only thing. He says he's feeling great. Shanahan yesterday or 2 days ago said, man, Brock's the real deal. Brock says he's over the injury. We're going to find out, because a couple days ago he floated a ball to Dre Greenlaw, and it just kind of it literally floated. Then he threw a deep ball down the field, and it kind of
noticed that there's a. I've kind of noticed that they're playing a little smoke and mirrors with the highlights. I noticed that all of Brock's balls get put in slow motion in the air. They don't, for some reason they put all the balls in slow motion in the air because we don't want to be able to track the velocity and the flight of the ball. So I see they're playing a little bit of tricks, but I do agree with all three evaluations of each quarterback. With Sam, I've said this in many shows. Sam has had 5 years at fooling teams into believing that he's the guy into week one, right?
Right.
Go back and check.
He's been touted.
Come on, man. If you go back and look at the practice reports of Sam Darnold in practice, Sam Darnold is Peyton Manning in practice. He has been touted for being a talented practice player. As a matter of fact, so much so that when week one comes, players are almost damn near mad at him because they feel jilted. So I know, I understand that in Niner land, for some reason, everything seems to work here, especially offensively. But I just beware of the Sam Darnold love. Beware. All right, because we got to get this guy on the field. And once we get him on the field, it's over. The rest of the league's got to see him, right? As far as Trey is concerned, Trey just needs time on task. I understand the deficiencies about him are well documented with his lack of accuracy and timing and touch on short to intermediate throws. But it's really rich to say that about a guy who's only played 3.5 games. So he needs time on task. His real issues are real, but you don't bear those out unless he gets a shot to play. And with Brock, I believe that that's just time. With that elbow, I don't care what anybody says. He's not back. He's not healthy. I'm not about to start talking about Brock's deep ball weeks off of being on the slab. All right, he just got cut open a couple of months ago. So he's going to have to take some time in order to see anything with his velocity. What I do like about Brock is that nobody's saying anything about his processing. I've heard a lot about would-be picks and dropped picks, but in practice, it's hard to differentiate what Kyle is trying to put those quarterbacks into, right?
You're totally right.
He may put him in situations where he's saying, I really want to try. I seen something on film, or there's a theme of the day. Sometimes offensive coaches come in with, hey, we're working 10 to 15 today. We're working on stick beaters today. We're working on third down today. Today we're working the middle of the field or the short side hash. There's certain initiatives that are trying to get done offensively, and then defensively on the other side, what you want to do is juxtapose those initiatives together so you can get good work collectively. So you may see Diamador Lenore break on a would-be pick for Brock, but you don't know if that's a cookie for the defense. That was a play the defense was supposed to win, right?
We're going to know a lot more about all these guys in Vegas, right? When they go against the Raiders, because
Vegas is gonna.
It's gonna define things. It's gonna good and bad.
Beware, media content creators, because a lot of the media in Vegas is gonna say their piece too. So they're gonna be able to say, I don't know what the hell these guys are talking about. Sam Darnold looks like blah blah blah, or I don't know. They've been saying all of this about Trey. Jesus Christ, Trey looks like the worst quarterback on the team. What the hell are they talking about? Brock Purdy's arm. So
the truth comes out.
Yes, because now we have a third-party we have another third party to come in and give their perspective. So I'm very
Totally.
excited to see what Vegas has to say about Trey, Brock, Sam, about our offense and our defense, because it's been well documented what teams have to say about us when we come to see him. The Chargers were chirping about Jimmy. You remember that? Chargers were going in on Jimmy when he came to town. When we played against when we played against Minnesota, they was chirping. They were chirping about what we had and what they thought about our team. So I'm very excited to see what Las Vegas is going to say about us, because you know what? For as much as we like to believe that we keep things together in San Francisco, nobody's bigger than the league, Larry. Nobody's
and you can get in your own echo chamber. We've seen it before, where it's all of a sudden it's just like
it's
everybody's
a jerk.
Well, that's another way of saying it. But I mean, a lot, the group think, let's just call it group think, where everybody's like, well, we're all kind of saying the same things. And so there's consensus. And now you bring in new opinions and new people and new teams and
you have to
new
deal
competitors.
With those opinions,
and sometimes, and they're going to have a different perspective, and it may not be ours. J Shaw 007 says, keep up the great work, Krug and Coach. Watching from Europe, but from the Rockland area. Good conversation with Montana and Rice during their training camp. Appreciate that, J Shaw. We appreciate the comment, and thanks for watching from Europe. I like the dedication. I don't normally share the screen this much, but I got one more that I want to play you that I think is pretty damn good.
Let's go.
This is from yesterday, and it's Sam Darnold. And I asked Sam Darnold a question, because Sam Darnold, as I said, is playing really well. He's not turning it over, and yet he has 100 turnovers as a pro. And so I asked him the question. The difference is, well, here, I'll play it for you right here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Sam, how does the mindset of a quarterback change in a practice situation when you know you're not going to take a hit, as opposed to a game situation where
beautiful question,
you most likely are going to take a hit?
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference. It's understanding kind of the protection and when it breaks down. I think in practice, obviously, you want to be able to sit in the pocket and make throws and go through your reads. But in the game, instincts, at certain times got to take over. And like in practice, you can go from your first read to your second read to your third and make the throw. Whereas in games, more often you might feel a rush, or especially coming off the left side, you might feel something and it might make you flush. So that's something that we always got to continue to work on in quarterback drills. To continue to feel the pocket and have smaller movements in the pocket rather than forcing our way out of it.
Yeah. I thought that was particularly interesting, Coach, just from the standpoint of this guy looks good in practice, but can he carry that forward, into the games? And
I mean, and
we don't know.
He said it. He said, when you're in practice, you're afforded to go through your first, second, and third read, right? The very first thing he said to you were replying was, that's the difference, right? So as soon as he said that, I wanted to say, yeah, no shit, Sam. That's what we just asked you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that is, I feel like the devil is in the details. He's letting you know the difference between what his thought process is in practice versus what his thought process is going through a game, right? Just at least the feel. And the feel that he's giving off is that in practice, I'm afforded to actually matriculate the offense, go through my first through third read if needed, and deliver the ball amicably, right? However, when the game comes, he literally said instinct takes over, right? And we've seen this man's instincts, right? So my thing is that I wish he would have said something like, my biggest feat right now in this stage of my career is to carry over what I do in practice into the games, and that's what I'm working on. Or, almost to the point where I have found my issue and this is what I'm working on. That's not what that answer sounded like. That answer sounded to me like, well, yeah, we're just going to have to figure it out. Of course I'm looking good in practice, but once I get to the game, I'll tell you when I find out. You know what I'm saying? So Sam is a talent. I don't want to poo-poo what he has done as an athlete and what he could potentially do for us. I mean, who knows? We'll be strapped to our seats weeks from now. We could be possibly forced to be rooting for Sam. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that he's not the genuine article, but I will say it's concerning.
Well, it's basically like, yeah, almost like saying that's why practice doesn't matter.
Doesn't
that's
matter.
Why
exactly.
That's why practice stats don't really matter. It's like we can read stats and this kind of thing, but ultimately what he's saying is it's a whole new ball game when guys can hit you. And T-Dub makes a good point. He says, seems like Kyle's offense, sometimes he favors the quarterback who gets the ball out fastest, and Sam has been doing that so far. And that maybe is what the Niners weapons coach allow for, is they allow for a guy like Darnold to, instead of holding the ball, he can get it out to McCaffrey. He can get it out to Debo short. A lot of the routes are intermediate routes. Boom, Debo. You hit that back foot, the ball comes out. And it's maybe in this offense he can find a rhythm that he couldn't find in New York.